The fluorescent lights of the quick-stop gas station buzzed like angry wasps at 2:47 a.m. Connor Kane stood at pump number 7, watching diesel fuel flow into his Harley's tank, when he heard it, a sound that didn't belong in the quiet December night. Crying, not the dramatic sobbing of someone seeking attention. This was the kind of crying that came from deep inside, the kind that happened when you thought no one could hear you, the kind Connor remembered from his own childhood, hidden in closets and under beds. He turned slowly, his leather cut creaking in the cold. The Hells Angels patches on his back caught the harsh station lights. North Carolina chapter, 23 years of brotherhood stitched into every thread. At 54, Connor had seen things that would break most men. He'd done things he'd never forgive himself for. But that sound, that quiet, desperate crying, cut through all his carefully constructed armor. The girl sat on the curb near the air pump station. Maybe 16, maybe 17. Dark hair hanging in tangled curtains around her face. Her shoulders shook with each silent sob, and her arms were wrapped around her knees like she was trying to make herself disappear. Connor's first instinct was to mind his own business. In his experience, getting involved in other people's problems only led to pain. He'd learned that lesson the hard way 23 years ago, when his inability to walk away had cost him everything that mattered. But then the girl looked up. Even from 30 feet away, Connor could see the bruises. One eye was swollen almost shut, purple and black in the harsh light. Her lip was split, dried blood crusted at the corner of her mouth. And her neck, Jesus Christ. Her neck had finger-shaped marks that made Connor's hands curl into fists. The fuel pump clicked off. Connor replaced the nozzle with hands that had started to shake. He'd seen abuse before. Hell, he'd lived through it as a kid. But seeing it on someone else's child, seeing the evidence of violence written across a young girl's face, brought back memories he'd spent decades trying to bury. Walk away, the smart part of his brain whispered. This isn't your problem. You've got your own demons to fight. But his feet carried him toward the girl anyway. She noticed him approaching and flinched so hard she nearly fell off the curb. Her good eye went wide with terror, and she scrambled backward, her hands raised defensively in front of her face. Don't, she gasped. Please don't. I'll go. I'm sorry, I'll leave. Connor stopped dead in his tracks, holding his hands up where she could see them. Hey, I'm not going to hurt you. The girl didn't lower her hands. She was shaking now, her whole body trembling like a leaf in a hurricane. That's what he said, she whispered. Right before... She couldn't finish the sentence. Connor's jaw clenched so tight he thought his teeth might crack. Who did this to you? Nobody. The lie came automatically, practiced. I fell. You fell. Connor kept his voice soft, non-threatening. You fell and gave yourself a black eye, a split lip, and what looks like strangulation marks on your neck. The girl's face crumpled. Fresh tears spilled down her cheeks, cutting clean tracks through the dirt and dried blood. Please just go away, she sobbed. Please. I can't deal with this right now. Connor should have walked away. Every survival instinct he'd honed over 5 decades was screaming at him to get back on his bike and ride. This girl had problems, big problems, and getting involved would only complicate his life in ways he didn't need. But then she looked at him with those desperate, haunted eyes, and Connor saw himself at 17, broken, alone, convinced that the world was nothing but pain and violence and people who hurt you because they could. He sat down on the curb, 10 feet away from her, close enough to talk, far enough to not be threatening. What's your name, kid? She stared at him like he'd spoken a foreign language. Why do you care? Because you're sitting outside a gas station at 3 a.m, beaten half to death, and you look like you've got nowhere to go. Connor pulled a pack of cigarettes from his jacket, then remembered he'd quit 3 years ago. He shoved them back in his pocket. So I'll ask again. What's your name? For a long moment, the girl said nothing. Then, so quietly, Connor almost missed it. Mia. Mia, Connor nodded. I'm Connor. And before you ask, yeah, I'm a Hell's Angel. Yeah, I look scary. And yeah, I've done things I'm not proud of. But I swear on everything I've got left in this world, I'm not going to hurt you. Mia studied him with her one good eye, searching for the lie. Connor let her look. He'd learned a long time ago that sometimes silence was more honest than words. You really a Hell's Angel? She asked finally. 23 years. My boyfriend says Hell's Angels are dangerous. He says they're criminals and drug dealers and... She stopped, realizing what she'd just revealed. Connor felt ice water flood his veins. Your boyfriend did this to you. It wasn't a question. Mia looked away, fresh tears streaming down her face. You don't understand. He loves me. Sometimes he gets angry, and I say the wrong thing, or I do something stupid, and he can't help it. It's my fault, really. If I just learned to keep my mouth shut. Stop. Connor's voice was harder than he intended. Stop right there, Mia. This isn't your fault. Whatever he told you, whatever he made you believe, it's a lie. Men who love you don't beat you half to death and leave marks on your neck like they tried to strangle you. You don't know him. Mia's voice rose, defensive. You don't know what it's like. He's under a lot of pressure. His dad expects him to take over the family business, and his mom is always on his case, and I'm the only person he can talk to. When he gets stressed, sometimes he needs to let it out. By using you as a punching bag. It's not like that. Then what's it like, Mia? Connor leaned forward slightly. Explain to me how a man who supposedly loves you ends up beating you so bad you're hiding at a gas station in the middle of the night. Mia's face crumpled again. I said something about his father. I didn't mean anything by it. We were talking about Christmas, and I mentioned how my dad used to take me to see the lights downtown when I was little, before he died. And Tyler, he got this look in his eyes, like he wasn't even there anymore. And then he grabbed me by the throat and slammed me against the wall. Connor closed his eyes briefly. The image was too clear, too vivid. He'd seen men like Tyler before. Hell, he'd been a man like Tyler once, before Rachel had shown him there was another way to live. How long's this been going on? He asked. 6 months, since we started dating. And how old is Tyler? Mia hesitated. 24. Connor felt his blood pressure spike. You're 17, maybe 18, and this bastard is 24 years old. I'm 16, Mia whispered, but I'll be 17 in March. 16. This girl was 16 years old, and a grown man had been beating her for 6 months. Connor had killed people for less during his years with the Angels. The rage that surged through him was familiar, comforting almost. It would be so easy to find this Tyler, to show him what it felt like to be on the receiving end of violence. But that wasn't who Connor was anymore. He'd left that man behind when he'd buried Rachel. Where are your parents, Mia? My dad died when I was 8. Car accident. Mia pulled her knees tighter against her chest. My mom. She remarried when I was 12. Greg, my stepdad, he's okay, I guess. But him and my mom, they work a lot. Double shifts at the hospital. They don't really have time to notice what's going on with me. They don't notice the bruises? I'm good at hiding them. Makeup, long sleeves, staying in my room when it's bad. Mia looked up at Connor with eyes that had seen too much. Tyler says if I tell anyone, he'll make it worse. He says nobody will believe me anyway. His dad is some big shot lawyer in town, and Tyler's got this perfect reputation. Star quarterback, honor roll, everybody loves him. Who's going to believe that Tyler Morrison beats his girlfriend? Connor's mind raced. Tyler Morrison. The name sounded familiar, but he couldn't place it. What did he do tonight that made you run? Mia's hand went to her throat, touching the bruises there. He was choking me. We were in his car, parked behind the old textile mill. He was yelling about something, I don't even remember what. And then his hands were around my neck. I couldn't breathe. I thought, her voice broke. I thought he was going to kill me this time. How'd you get away? I need him, right in the, he let go and I ran. I didn't even grab my phone or my purse. I just ran until I couldn't run anymore, and then I ended up here. Connor looked at this 16-year-old girl, beaten and terrified and convinced that somehow this was all her fault, and felt something crack open inside his chest, something he'd thought was dead and buried along with Rachel. Mia, he said carefully, I need you to listen to me very closely. What Tyler did to you, that's not love. That's abuse. That's assault. And that thing with your neck, that's attempted murder. You understand me? He tried to kill you. He was just angry. He didn't mean... He put his hands around your throat and squeezed until you couldn't breathe. That's not an accident, kid. That's not a moment of anger. That's a man trying to end your life. Mia started crying again, harder this time. But I love him, and he says he loves me. He always apologizes after. He cries and tells me he's sorry and that he'll never do it again. He brings me flowers and takes me to nice restaurants and tells me I'm the most important person in his life. And then he beats you again. Yeah. The word came out as a broken whisper. Yeah, he does. Connor stood up slowly, careful not to startle her. You got anywhere to go tonight? Family, friends, anybody you trust? Mia shook her head. My friends all think Tyler's perfect. They're jealous I'm dating him. And I can't go home because Tyler knows where I live. If he finds me... She couldn't finish the sentence. He's not going to find you. Connor pulled out his phone. I know a woman who runs a shelter for domestic violence victims. It's safe, secure, and Tyler won't be able to get anywhere near you. I can't. Mia scrambled to her feet. I can't go to a shelter. Tyler said if I ever try to leave him, he'll find me. He'll hurt my mom, my stepdad, everyone I care about. He has connections, Connor. His dad knows judges and cops, and I know people who make his dad's connections look like a kindergarten class. Connor kept his voice steady, calm. Mia, I need you to trust me. Just for tonight. Let me get you somewhere safe. Tomorrow we'll figure out the rest. But right now, you need medical attention, and you need to be somewhere Tyler can't reach you. Mia looked at him with eyes full of fear and desperate hope. Why are you helping me? You don't even know me. Connor thought about Rachel, about the night 23 years ago when he'd found her bleeding out in their apartment. He thought about the choices he'd made that led to that moment, the violence he'd chosen over love, the brotherhood he'd valued more than the woman who'd believed in him. Because someone should have helped someone I loved a long time ago, he said quietly. And they didn't, and she died because of it. So yeah, I'm helping you, Mia, whether you like it or not. Mia stared at him for a long moment. Then slowly she nodded. Okay, she whispered. Okay. Connor called Charlotte Webb, the woman who ran Safe Harbor, a shelter he'd been donating to anonymously for the past 5 years. She answered on the third ring, her voice thick with sleep. This better be important, Connor. It is. I've got a 16-year-old girl, domestic violence victim, severe injuries, and a boyfriend with connections who's probably looking for her right now. Can you take her? There was a pause. Then Charlotte's voice came back, clear and focused. Bring her in. Back entrance, 30 minutes. Thanks, Charlotte. Don't thank me yet. We need to talk about what comes next. Connor hung up and turned to Mia. My truck's over there. We're going to get you somewhere safe. Get those injuries looked at. And then we're going to figure out how to make sure Tyler Morrison never touches you again. Mia looked at the truck, then back at Connor. I'm scared. I know, kid, but being scared means you're still alive. And staying alive means you get to fight back. Trust me. She took a tentative step toward him, then another. By the time they reached the truck, she was crying again, but this time it was different. This time it sounded like relief. Connor helped her into the passenger seat and closed the door gently. As he walked around to the driver's side, he pulled out his phone and sent a quick text to his brother, Bear, the president of the North Carolina chapter. Need intel on Tyler Morrison, 24, probably father is a lawyer. Kid's been beating his 16-year-old girlfriend. Tonight he tried to strangle her. The response came back within seconds. On it. Meet at the clubhouse tomorrow. And Connor? Be careful. Morrison name rings bells. Not good ones. Connor slid behind the wheel and started the engine. Mia sat pressed against the passenger door, still trembling, still terrified. You okay? He asked. She shook her head. Not really, but I'm alive. That's something, right? That's everything, kid. That's everything. They drove through the quiet streets of Asheville, past Christmas decorations that seemed obscenely cheerful given the circumstances. Connor kept checking his rearview mirror, watching for Tyler's car, ready to fight if he had to. But the streets stayed empty. Safe Harbor was a nondescript building on the edge of town, deliberately unmarked to protect the women inside. Connor pulled around to the back entrance where Charlotte was waiting, her gray hair pulled back in a messy bun, her face lined with concern. Jesus Christ, she breathed when she saw Mia's face. Connor, this girl needs a hospital. Can't risk it. Tyler's dad has connections. Hospital means police report, and police report means his lawyer father makes it all go away. Charlotte's jaw tightened. Then I call my doctor friend. She does house calls for situations like this. But Connor, those marks on her neck, that's attempted murder. We need to document everything. Do it. Take photos, medical reports, everything. We're building a case, but we need to do it right. Mia looked between them, her good eye wide. I don't understand. Why are you doing all this for me? Charlotte crouched down to Mia's level, her voice soft. Because you deserve to be safe, honey. Because what happened to you is wrong, and the people who did it need to be held accountable. And because we've all been where you are, we all know what it's like to feel helpless and scared. But I don't even know you. You don't need to. Come inside. Let's get you cleaned up and checked out, and then we'll talk about what happens next. Mia looked at Connor one more time. Will you stay? The question hit Connor like a physical blow. Please. Mia's voice cracked. Just for a little while, until I'm sure Tyler won't find me. You're the first person who's made me feel safe in 6 months. Please don't leave me alone. Connor glanced at Charlotte, who nodded slightly. Okay, kid. I'll stay until you fall asleep. Deal? Deal. Inside, Safe Harbor was warm and quiet. Charlotte led them to a small examination room where she gently cleaned Mia's wounds while Connor sat in the corner, his hands clenched into fists, trying not to think about what he wanted to do to Tyler Morrison. The doctor arrived 20 minutes later, a woman named Dr. Sarah Chen, who took one look at Mia and immediately began documenting every injury. As she worked, Connor watched Mia's face. The girl was trying so hard to be brave, biting her split lip to keep from crying out when the doctor touched particularly painful spots. The bruising on your neck is severe, Dr. Chen said gently. You're lucky he didn't crush your trachea. Another few seconds and... She didn't finish the sentence. I know, Mia whispered. I thought I was going to die. You're safe now, and these injuries, all of them, I'm documenting everything. When you're ready to press charges, you'll have a complete medical record. I can't press charges. Tyler will what? Connor spoke up from his corner. Kill you? He already tried that tonight, Mia. What's he going to do that's worse? Mia's face crumpled. He'll hurt my family. No, he won't. Because he's going to be too busy dealing with me and my brothers to worry about your family. Charlotte shot Connor a warning look. Let's not talk about that right now. Mia needs rest. After Dr. Chen finished her examination and left, Charlotte showed Mia to a small room with a single bed and a window that looked out onto a quiet garden. The room was simple but clean, with soft blankets and a nightlight that cast gentle shadows on the walls. You'll be safe here, Charlotte said. The door locks from the inside, and we have security cameras throughout the building. Tyler won't be able to get anywhere near you. Mia sat on the edge of the bed, looking small and lost. I don't know how to thank you. Both of you. You don't need to thank us. Charlotte squeezed her shoulder gently. Just rest. We'll talk more in the morning. She left, closing the door softly behind her. Connor stood awkwardly in the doorway, uncertain whether to stay or go. Connor, Mia's voice was small. Yeah, kid? Can you... She stopped, swallowed hard. Can you stay, just until I fall asleep? I know it's stupid, but I'm scared if I close my eyes, I'll wake up and Tyler will be there. Connor felt his throat tighten. It's not stupid. Move over. He pulled a chair next to the bed and sat down heavily. Mia curled up under the blankets, her eyes already starting to drift closed, despite her fear. Connor? I'm here. Why did you help me? Really? Connor was quiet for a long moment, thinking about Rachel, about the choices that had led to her death, about the 23 years he'd spent trying to atone for failing her. I had someone I loved once, he said quietly. Her name was Rachel. She was everything good in the world, and I was a different person back then. Violent, angry, always choosing the club over her. She tried to leave me, and some people I'd pissed off found her first. By the time I got there, his voice broke. By the time I got there, it was too late. She died in my arms, and the last thing she said to me was that she'd always believed I could be better. Mia's good eye was fixed on him, listening intently. I've spent 23 years trying to be the man Rachel thought I could be, Connor continued. And when I saw you tonight sitting on that curb, beaten and scared and alone, I saw another chance. A chance to be the person who shows up, the person who helps, the person Rachel believed I was. She sounds amazing. She was, and I failed her. But I'm not going to fail you, Mia. I promise you that. Mia reached out and took his hand. Her fingers were small and cold against his calloused palm. Thank you, she whispered, for being there tonight, for showing up. Connor squeezed her hand gently. Get some sleep, kid. Tomorrow we start fighting back. Mia's eyes finally closed. Within minutes, her breathing had evened out into the deep rhythm of exhausted sleep. Connor sat there for another hour, watching over her, thinking about Tyler Morrison and the reckoning that was coming. His phone buzzed silently. A text from Bear. Tyler Morrison, son of Lawrence Morrison, defense attorney with ties to the state attorney general. Tyler's been in trouble before. 3 assault charges, all dismissed. 2 restraining orders from ex-girlfriends, both mysteriously dropped. Kid's got a pattern, and Daddy's been cleaning it up. Connor felt ice settle in his chest. What about the ex-girlfriends? Can we talk to them? One's in California. Won't talk. Too scared. The other one's local. Name's Amber Hayes. Works at the coffee shop on Biltmore. Might be worth a conversation. Set it up for tomorrow. Already done. 10 a.m. Connor looked down at Mia, sleeping peacefully for the first time in who knew how long. Tyler Morrison had hurt this girl for 6 months. He'd hurt others before her, and his father had made it all disappear like it never happened. Not this time. This time, Tyler Morrison was going to learn what happened when you hurt someone a Hell's Angel cared about. Connor stood up carefully, not wanting to wake Mia. He wrote a quick note and left it on the bedside table. Had to go take care of some things. You're safe here. Charlotte will take care of you. I'll be back tomorrow. Stay strong, kid. C. He walked out into the cold December night, climbed on his Harley and rode toward the clubhouse. There was work to do. The Hells Angels clubhouse sat on the outskirts of Asheville, a low-slung building that had seen better decades. To anyone driving past, it looked like a rundown biker bar. But inside, it was home to 57 men who'd sworn brotherhood to each other, who'd bled together and fought together and buried their dead together. Connor pulled into the parking lot at 4:30 a.m. to find lights blazing in every window. His brothers were already there, waiting. Bear met him at the door. At 6'5" and 280 pounds, Bear was an intimidating presence. His real name was Marcus Hayes, but nobody had called him that in 20 years. The grizzly bear tattoo that covered his entire back had earned him his road name, and it fit perfectly. Heard you had an interesting night, Bear said, clasping Connor's hand. You could say that. Inside, the common room was full. Brothers from the Asheville chapter, some from as far away as Charlotte and Raleigh, all gathered because Bear had made the call. When one brother needed help, they all showed up. That was the code. Talk to us, Bear said, gesturing to a chair at the head of the long table. Connor sat down and told them everything, finding Mia at the gas station, the bruises, the attempted strangulation, Tyler Morrison's name, his lawyer father, the pattern of abuse that had been covered up for years. The room got quieter and quieter as he spoke. By the time he finished, the temperature had dropped about 20 degrees. This Tyler kid, a brother named Diesel, spoke up. He's Lawrence Morrison's son? You know him? Know of him. Morrison defended that developer who killed his wife last year. Got him off on a technicality. Cold bastard. If his kid's anything like him. Worse, Bear interrupted. He pulled up something on his phone and passed it to Connor. Just got this from our contact in the DA's office. Tyler Morrison has been investigated 6 times in the past 4 years. Assault, battery, sexual assault. All cases dismissed. All witnesses recanted. All evidence mysteriously disappeared. Connor stared at the screen, feeling his blood pressure rise. 6 times. He's done this to at least 6 women, and his father has made it all go away. Probably more than 6. Another brother, a former cop named Walsh, said. Those are just the ones who were brave enough to report it. Most victims never make it that far. So what's the play? Diesel asked. We can't just roll up on this kid. Morrison's connected. He'll have us arrested before we even get close. No, Connor said. We do this smart, legal, by the book. We gather evidence, we talk to the other victims. We build a case that even Morrison's lawyers can't make disappear. Bear raised an eyebrow. Since when do you care about doing things legal? Since I met a 16-year-old girl who thinks she deserves to be beaten because some rich kid convinced her it was her fault. Connor's voice was hard. Tyler Morrison has been getting away with this because nobody's ever stood up to him. Because his victims are too scared to fight back, and the system's too corrupt to care. But Mia... He stopped, surprised by the emotion in his own voice. Mia deserves justice. Real justice. Not the kind that ends with Tyler in a hospital and me in prison. The room was silent. His brothers looked at each other, communicating in the wordless way men who'd known each other for decades could. Finally, Bear nodded. Okay, we do this your way. Legal. Smart. But Connor, if at any point this kid tries to hurt that girl again, then all bets are off, Connor finished. Agreed? Agreed. They spent the next 3 hours planning. Walsh would use his old contacts in the police department to pull Tyler's complete history. Diesel knew a private investigator who specialized in finding witnesses who'd been intimidated into silence. Bear would reach out to their lawyer, a woman named Patricia Cross who'd gotten more than one brother out of legal trouble over the years, and Connor would talk to Amber Hayes, Tyler's other local ex-girlfriend, to see if she'd be willing to testify. What about the girl? Walsh asked. Mia. What's her situation? She's at Safe Harbor. Charlotte's taking care of her. She going to press charges? Connor hesitated. She's scared. Tyler threatened her family, and she's still convinced this is somehow her fault. Classic abuse pattern, Walsh said. The bastard's been conditioning her to believe she deserves it. Breaking that mindset takes time. Time we might not have. Tyler's probably looking for her right now. Bear pulled up something else on his phone. Way ahead of you. I've got 2 brothers watching Safe Harbor, and 2 more watching Mia's house in case Tyler tries to intimidate her family. If he shows his face anywhere near people we're protecting, we'll know. Thanks, Bear. Don't thank me yet. We got a long road ahead of us, and Morrison's going to fight dirty. He always does. At 9:45 a.m., Connor walked into The Grind, a coffee shop on Biltmore Avenue. Amber Hayes was working the morning shift, her blonde hair pulled back in a neat ponytail, her smile professionally pleasant as she took orders. She was 22 years old, according to Bear's research. She'd dated Tyler for 8 months when she was 19, right after she'd graduated high school. The relationship had ended with a restraining order that was mysteriously dropped 2 weeks later. She'd never spoken publicly about what Tyler had done to her. Connor waited until her shift ended at 10, then approached her as she was leaving through the back entrance. Amber Hayes? She turned, her eyes widening when she saw him. I don't know you. No, but we need to talk. It's about Tyler Morrison. The color drained from Amber's face. I have nothing to say about Tyler. I'm not a cop. I'm not a lawyer. I'm just someone trying to help his current girlfriend, a 16-year-old girl he tried to strangle last night. Amber's hand went to her own throat, an unconscious gesture. Is she okay? She's alive. Barely. And she's terrified, just like I'm guessing you were when you dated him. Amber looked around the parking lot nervously. I can't talk about this. Tyler, his father, they'll what? They already ruined your life once, didn't they? What else can they take from you? Amber's eyes filled with tears. Everything. They can take everything. Connor softened his voice. I know you're scared. I know they made you drop the restraining order. I know Tyler or his father probably threatened you. Your family. Everything you care about. But Amber, this girl, Mia, she's 16. Tyler's been beating her for 6 months. And if we don't stop him now, she won't be the last. Amber was crying now, silent tears streaming down her face. You don't understand. He's connected. His father knows everyone. Judges, cops, politicians. They made my assault charges disappear like they never happened. They got the restraining order thrown out. They told me if I ever spoke Tyler's name again, they'd destroy my parents' business, get my little brother kicked out of college, ruin my family. And you believed them. Because they could do it. Amber's voice rose. Lawrence Morrison defended a man who murdered 3 people and got him off on a technicality. He has senators on speed dial. What chance do I have against that? Connor stepped closer, his voice low and intense. You have me. You have my brothers. 57 Hell's Angels who don't give a damn about Lawrence Morrison's connections. And more importantly, you have the truth. Tyler Morrison is a serial abuser. He's hurt you. He's hurt Mia. He's hurt at least 4 other women that we know of. How many more before someone stands up to him? Amber wiped her eyes roughly. Why do you care? You're a Hell's Angel. No offense. You're supposed to be one of the bad guys. Connor couldn't help but smile, though there was no humor in it. Yeah, I've done bad things. Spent most of my life being exactly the kind of man people are right to be afraid of. But I learned something the hard way. Sometimes the bad guys are the only ones willing to fight the real monsters. Amber studied him for a long moment. What do you want from me? Your story, everything Tyler did to you, medical records if you have them, photos, texts, anything that proves what he did, and eventually, if it goes to trial, your testimony. They'll destroy me. Maybe. Or maybe this time we destroy them first. Amber was quiet for so long Connor thought she'd refuse. Then she pulled out her phone. I kept everything, she said quietly. Photos of the bruises, screenshots of his texts, medical records from the hospital visits I lied about. I told myself I deleted it all, but I couldn't. Some part of me knew I might need it someday. She pulled up a folder and handed Connor her phone. He scrolled through it, his jaw getting tighter with each image. Bruises, black eyes, a broken wrist. Text messages where Tyler apologized, promised to change, then threatened her if she tried to leave. Medical reports that documented injuries inconsistent with Amber's claimed accidents. Jesus Christ, Connor breathed. That was just the first 3 months, Amber said. It got worse after that. That's when I tried to get the restraining order, and that's when Lawrence Morrison showed up at my apartment with 2 of Tyler's friends and explained very clearly what would happen to my family if I pursued legal action. Did they threaten you directly? They didn't have to. Lawrence just smiled and mentioned how my dad's construction business was under investigation for permit violations, how my mom's nursing license could be reviewed for minor errors in patient records, how my brother's scholarship could be reconsidered for academic dishonesty. He knew everything about my family, every vulnerability, every pressure point. Connor handed back her phone. Can you send me all of that? I've got a lawyer who needs to see it. Amber hesitated. If I do this, if I help you, Tyler will come after me again. No, he won't, because he's going to be too busy dealing with assault charges, attempted murder charges, and a very angry group of Hell's Angels who've decided he's their new project. Despite everything, Amber almost smiled. You really think you can stop him? I think if we all stand together, you, me, Mia, the other victims, we've got a chance. Separate, we're easy targets. Together, we're a problem. Even Lawrence Morrison can't make disappear. Amber looked at her phone, at the folder of evidence she'd carried for 3 years. I'll send you everything. But Connor, if this goes sideways, if Tyler comes after my family, he won't get the chance. You have my word. She studied his face, searching for the lie. Whatever she saw there must have convinced her, because she nodded slowly. Okay, I'm in. Connor's phone buzzed. A text from Charlotte at Safe Harbor. Mia's awake. Asking for you. She's having a rough morning. I've got to go, Connor said. Send me everything you've got. And Amber, thank you. What you're doing, it takes courage. Or stupidity. I haven't decided which yet. Connor rode back to Safe Harbor, his mind racing with everything Amber had told him. Tyler Morrison had been systematically abusing women for years, and his father had been systematically covering it up. The pattern was clear, the evidence was mounting, and if they played this right... His phone rang, Bear's name on the screen. Yeah? We've got a problem. Tyler Morrison just filed a missing persons report on Mia. Says she's his girlfriend, says she's mentally unstable, says she's off her medication and could be a danger to herself. Connor felt ice flood his veins. He's trying to get ahead of the story. Worse, Lawrence Morrison is claiming Mia has a history of making false accusations. He's already talked to 2 judges, lined up a psychiatrist who will testify she's delusional, and he's preparing to have her committed to a mental health facility for observation. They can't do that. They can if they convince a judge she's a threat to herself or others. And Connor, Morrison's already got Judge Blackwell on board. He's signing the commitment papers this afternoon. Connor's hands tightened on the handlebars. How long do we have? 6 hours, maybe less. If they find Mia before we can build our case, she disappears into the system and Tyler walks away clean. Not happening. Get Patricia Cross on this now. I need her to block that commitment order. Already called her. She's working on it, but Connor, Morrison's connected. He's got friends everywhere. This is going to be a fight. Then we fight. What about the other victims? Anyone else willing to talk? Working on it. Diesel's tracking down 2 of the women from California. Walsh is trying to find the one who moved to Florida. But Connor, even if we find them, Morrison's going to claim they're all lying, all coordinating their stories to hurt poor Tyler. Connor pulled into Safe Harbor's parking lot. Then we make sure our evidence is bulletproof. I've got photos, medical records, and testimony from Amber Hayes. Dr. Chen documented everything with Mia. We get the other victims' stories corroborated, and we have a pattern that's impossible to deny. You really think we can beat a guy like Lawrence Morrison in court? Connor thought about Mia's face last night, the terror in her eyes, the bruises on her neck. We don't have a choice. He walked into Safe Harbor to find Charlotte waiting for him, her expression grim. She knows, Charlotte said without preamble. Knows what? That Tyler's looking for her. One of the other women here recognized his name from the news this morning. Missing girl, boyfriend worried sick, family desperate to find her. It's all over social media. Connor felt his jaw clench. Where is she? Her room. She won't come out. Won't eat, won't talk. Just sits there staring at the wall. Connor walked down the hallway to Mia's room and knocked gently. Mia, it's Connor. Can I come in? Silence. Kid, I know you're scared, but hiding in there isn't going to help. We need to talk about what's happening. More silence. Then, so quietly he almost missed it. He's going to find me. No, he's not. You don't know Tyler. You don't know what he's capable of. Connor leaned his forehead against the door. Then help me understand. Talk to me, Mia. Let me in. For a long moment, nothing. Then he heard the lock click. The door opened a crack and Mia's face appeared, pale and drawn. Her good eye was red from crying. He's telling everyone I'm crazy, she whispered. That I'm making things up. That I need help. Connor pushed the door open gently and stepped inside. Mia retreated to her bed, curling up with her knees against her chest in that defensive position he was starting to recognize. Tyler's lying, Connor said. He's trying to discredit you before you can tell anyone what he did. But what if people believe him? His dad is this famous lawyer. Tyler's popular. Everybody loves him. And I'm just... Her voice broke. I'm just some girl with a dead dad and a mom who works too much to notice when her daughter's getting beaten. You're not just some girl. Connor pulled the chair over and sat down. You're a survivor. You're someone who was brave enough to run when you needed to. Someone who trusted a stranger at a gas station because you knew you deserved better than what Tyler was giving you. I don't feel brave. I feel terrified. Being brave doesn't mean not being scared, kid. It means being scared and doing the hard thing anyway. Mia looked at him with those haunted eyes. What if I can't? What if Tyler finds me and what if I go back to him? You won't. You don't know that. He knows how to make me feel guilty. He knows exactly what to say to make me believe it's all my fault, that I'm the problem, that if I just tried harder, if I just stopped making him angry. Mia. Connor's voice was firm. Nothing you did made Tyler hurt you. Nothing you said, nothing you wore, nothing you failed to do. Tyler hurt you because he's a violent, abusive man who uses other people's pain to feel powerful. That's on him, not you. Mia was crying again. Then why does it feel like it's my fault? Because that's what abusers do. They convince you that their violence is your responsibility. That if you just behaved better, tried harder, loved them more perfectly, they'd stop hurting you. But it's a lie, Mia. It's always been a lie. How do you know? Connor was quiet for a moment. Because I used to be that guy. Not to the same extent as Tyler, but I was violent, angry. I hurt people I loved because I was too broken to know how to do anything else. And I spent years convincing myself it was their fault, that they pushed me too far, made me too angry, deserved what I did to them. Mia stared at him. What changed? Someone I loved died because of my choices. And in her last moments, she told me she'd always believed I could be better. That was 23 years ago, and I've spent every day since trying to be the man she thought I was. Do you think Tyler could change, like you did? Connor wanted to lie, wanted to give this 16-year-old girl hope that the man who'd beaten her could somehow transform into someone worth loving. But Mia deserved the truth. I don't know, he said honestly. Maybe. But Mia, here's the thing. It doesn't matter if Tyler could change. What matters is that you deserve to be safe right now. You deserve to heal. You deserve to not spend every moment terrified that your boyfriend is going to hurt you again. But I love him. I know you do, and that's the cruelest part of abuse, isn't it? You can love someone and still need to leave them. You can care about someone and still need to protect yourself from them. Mia pulled her knees tighter. I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to fight someone like Tyler. You don't have to fight him alone. You've got Charlotte, You've got Dr. Chen. You've got the other women here who understand exactly what you're going through. And you've got me. Why? Mia's voice was almost angry. Why do you care so much? You don't even know me. Connor thought about how to answer, about Rachel bleeding out in his arms, about 23 years of guilt and grief, about finding Mia at that gas station and seeing a chance for redemption. Because someone should have cared about Rachel, he said finally. Someone should have protected her when I couldn't. And I can't bring her back, can't change what happened to her. But I can make sure you don't end up like she did. I can make sure Tyler doesn't take from you what my choices took from her. Her life, her future, her hope, her belief that the world could be good. Connor leaned forward. Tyler's already taken too much from you, Mia. Your sense of safety, your confidence, your belief that you deserve to be treated well. But he doesn't get to take your future. Not if I have anything to say about it. Mia wiped her eyes. Tyler's dad is going to have me committed. I heard Charlotte talking on the phone. They're going to say, I'm crazy, lock me up and make me disappear. No, they're not. We've got a lawyer working on it right now. And we've got evidence. Your medical records, photos of your injuries, testimony from other women Tyler's hurt. We're building a case that's going to be impossible to ignore. Other women? Mia's voice sharpened. Tyler's done this before? Connor nodded. At least 6 times that we know of. All the cases were dismissed, all the witnesses intimidated into silence. But this time's different, Mia. This time we're not backing down. Mia was quiet for a long moment, processing this information. How many women? We're still tracking them all down. But so far we've got testimony from 1, medical records from 3 others, and evidence of a pattern going back at least 4 years. He told me I was special. Mia's voice was hollow. He said he'd never felt this way about anyone before, that his previous girlfriends just didn't understand him like I did. Classic abuser script, make you feel special so you won't question why his past relationships all ended badly. I was so stupid. You were 16 and in love. That's not stupid, that's normal. Tyler's the one who's sick, Mia, not you. There was a knock on the door. Charlotte's voice came through. Connor, Patricia's here, she needs to talk to both of you. Connor stood. You ready for this? Mia looked up at him, fear and determination warring in her expression. I don't know. That's okay. You don't have to be ready. You just have to show up. Can you do that? Slowly, Mia nodded. Yeah, I can do that. They walked to Charlotte's office together. Patricia Cross was waiting, a woman in her late 50s with steel gray hair and eyes that had seen every dirty legal trick in the book. Mia, she said gently, I'm Patricia. I'm a lawyer, and I'm here to help you. But I need you to understand something. What we're about to do is going to be hard. Tyler's father is a formidable opponent, and he's going to fight dirty. Are you prepared for that? Mia looked at Connor, then back at Patricia. What do I have to do? First, we need to stop the commitment order. Judge Blackwell is signing papers this afternoon that would have you involuntarily committed for psychiatric evaluation. Once you're in that system, it becomes much harder to fight back. How do we stop it? We file an emergency motion arguing that you're not a danger to yourself or others, that you're a domestic violence victim seeking safety, and that the commitment order is a legal maneuver by your abuser to regain control. We'll present Dr. Chen's medical evaluation, your documented injuries, and testimony from Charlotte about your mental state. Will it work? Patricia's expression was grim. Honestly, I don't know. Blackwell is in Morrison's pocket, but we have to try. What happens if it doesn't work? Then you'll be taken into custody this evening and transported to a psychiatric facility for observation. You'll be there for at least 72 hours, possibly longer. During that time, Morrison's psychiatrist will evaluate you, and we can almost guarantee he'll find you mentally unstable. Mia's face went pale. And Tyler? Will be free to continue his campaign of portraying himself as the concerned boyfriend trying to help his troubled girlfriend. Connor felt rage building in his chest. So we just roll over and let them win? No. Patricia's voice was steel. We fight. But Mia needs to understand what she's facing. This isn't going to be easy, and it's not going to be quick. Tyler and his father have been doing this for years. They're good at it. Then we get better. Connor looked at Mia. What do you want to do, kid? This is your choice. You can walk away right now, Let them commit you for observation, ride it out and go back to your life. Or you can fight. But fighting means everything. Your past, your mistakes, your relationship with Tyler, all of it becomes public. It means people will judge you, question you, call you a liar. It means Tyler and his father will do everything they can to destroy your credibility. Mia was silent for a long moment. Then she straightened her shoulders, and Connor saw something shift in her expression. Something hard and determined that reminded him of Rachel in her final moments. "I'm tired of being scared," Mia said quietly. "I'm tired of hiding. I'm tired of letting Tyler control my life." She looked directly at Patricia. "What do we need to do?" Patricia smiled, a fierce expression that made her look 10 years younger. "We go to war." The courtroom was packed. Connor sat in the back row, Bear beside him, watching as Tyler Morrison entered with his father. Tyler looked nothing like the monster Connor had imagined. He was clean-cut, handsome, wearing an expensive suit that probably cost more than Connor's bike. He smiled at the judge, shook hands with his father's associates, played the part of the concerned boyfriend perfectly. Lawrence Morrison was an older version of his son. Silver hair, commanding presence, the kind of man who owned every room he entered. He moved through the courthouse like he owned it, because in many ways he did. Mia sat at the plaintiff's table with Patricia, wearing clothes Charlotte had found for her. A simple blue dress that covered her bruises but couldn't hide the terror in her eyes. She kept looking back at Connor, seeking reassurance he wasn't sure he could give. Judge Blackwell entered and everyone stood. He was in his 60s, with the kind of face that had probably been stern even in childhood. Connor knew from Bear's research that Blackwell had ruled in Morrison's favor on at least 8 previous cases. "We're here on an emergency motion," Blackwell said, settling into his seat. "Miss Carter's counsel is requesting a stay on the commitment order. Counselor Cross, you may proceed." Patricia stood, commanding attention despite being half Lawrence Morrison's size. "Your Honor, Mia Carter is not mentally unstable. She's a domestic violence victim who fled her abuser and sought safety at a registered shelter. The commitment order filed by Mr. Tyler Morrison is a transparent attempt to regain control over his victim and silence her before she can report his crimes." "That's a serious accusation," Blackwell said, "and I have serious evidence to back it up." Patricia pulled out a folder. "Dr. Sarah Chen conducted a thorough psychiatric evaluation of Miss Carter yesterday evening. Her conclusion is that Miss Carter is mentally sound, fully aware of her circumstances, and in no way a danger to herself or others." "May I see that evaluation?" Patricia handed it to the bailiff, who passed it to the judge. Blackwell read it slowly, his expression giving nothing away. "Your Honor," Lawrence Morrison stood. "With all due respect to Dr. Chen, she's hardly an unbiased observer. She works for Safe Harbor, a shelter that has a vested interest in portraying Miss Carter as a victim rather than a troubled young woman in need of help. Dr. Chen is a licensed psychiatrist with 20 years of experience," Patricia shot back. "Her credentials are impeccable, as are those of Dr. Richard Weston, who will testify that Miss Carter exhibits classic signs of borderline personality disorder, including unstable relationships, fear of abandonment, and a tendency toward self-harm and false accusations." Connor felt his hands curl into fists. This was exactly what they'd expected, but hearing it laid out in open court, hearing Tyler's abuse dismissed as Mia's mental illness, made him want to tear the courtroom apart. "Dr. Weston has never met Miss Carter," Patricia said. "His evaluation is based entirely on information provided by the Morrison family. That's not a medical opinion, Your Honor. That's character assassination." "I've read enough." Blackwell set down the papers. "The commitment order stands. Miss Carter will be transported to Pinecrest Psychiatric Facility this evening for a 72-hour evaluation." Mia made a sound like she'd been punched. Patricia started to object, but Blackwell cut her off. "However," he continued, "given the serious allegations being made, I'm also ordering that Tyler Morrison maintain a distance of at least 100 yards from Miss Carter during her evaluation period. If these allegations of abuse prove true, Mr. Morrison will face appropriate consequences." It was a small victory, but Patricia took it. "Thank you, Your Honor." As the judge left, Connor watched Tyler lean over to whisper something to his father. Lawrence nodded, smiled, then turned to look directly at Connor. The message was clear. "We won. You lost." Connor stood and made his way to the front of the courtroom where Mia sat frozen, tears streaming down her face. I don't want to go, she whispered. Connor, please, don't let them take me. I'm sorry, kid. The judge ruled against us. But you promised. You said you wouldn't let Tyler win. Connor crouched down in front of her. This isn't over. This is just round one. You go to Pinecrest, you cooperate with their evaluation, and you come back in 72 hours with a clean bill of mental health. Meanwhile, Patricia and I keep building the case. What if they say I'm crazy? What if they keep me there forever? They won't. Dr. Chen will monitor your evaluation, Patricia's filing motions. And Mia, he took her hands gently. You're stronger than Tyler thinks you are. You're stronger than his father thinks you are. Show them that. Mia nodded, but she was shaking. Will you visit me? Every day, I promise. 2 orderlies arrived to transport Mia to Pinecrest. As they led her away, she looked back one more time, her expression breaking Connor's heart. Tyler Morrison watched her go with a small smile on his face. Then he turned to Connor. You're wasting your time, Tyler said quietly. Mia's mine. She always has been, and when she gets out of Pinecrest, she'll come back to me. They always do. Connor felt every muscle in his body tense. It would be so easy. One punch, one moment of violence to wipe that smug smile off Tyler's face. But that wasn't who he was anymore. She's not yours, Connor said evenly. She's never been yours. And when this is all over, you're going to prison for what you did to her. We'll see about that. Tyler's smile widened. My father's never lost a case. What makes you think a washed-up biker and a traumatized teenager are going to be any different? Before Connor could respond, Bear's hand landed on his shoulder. Let's go. They walked out of the courthouse together, Connor's hands still shaking with barely controlled rage. We need to regroup, Bear said. Figure out our next move. Our next move is finding every woman Tyler's ever hurt and getting them to testify. Already on it. Diesel tracked down one of the California women. She's willing to talk, but she wants protection. She's terrified Morrison will come after her family. We'll protect her. What about the others? Still looking. Walsh has a lead on the Florida victim, and I've got 2 more names from when Tyler was in college. Connor's phone buzzed. A text from Charlotte. Mia's been admitted to Pinecrest. They're starting the evaluation process now. Dr. Chen is there monitoring everything. He texted back. Keep me updated. And Charlotte, thank you. Don't thank me yet. This is just the beginning. That night, Connor couldn't sleep. He kept seeing Mia's face as they took her away, the terror in her eyes, the betrayal. He'd promised to protect her, and instead she'd been taken into custody, sent to a psychiatric facility, treated like she was the problem instead of Tyler. His phone rang at 2 a.m. Patricia's number. Tell me you have good news. Not exactly. Patricia's voice was tight. I just got word that Lawrence Morrison is filing a civil suit against you for attempted kidnapping, interference with a guardianship relationship, and emotional distress. Connor sat up in bed. What guardianship relationship? Mia's 16. Her parents have guardianship, not Tyler. Morrison's claiming that because Mia's mother works night shifts and her stepfather travels for work, Tyler's been acting as Mia's de facto guardian. He's got statements from teachers, neighbors, even Mia's mom saying she trusted Tyler to look after her daughter. That's insane. That's Lawrence Morrison. He's trying to paint you as the predator, Connor. A middle-aged biker who kidnapped a vulnerable teenager and convinced her that her loving boyfriend was abusing her. Connor felt cold rage settle in his chest. He can't actually believe that will work. He doesn't have to believe it. He just has to create enough doubt that the real story gets lost in the noise. By the time this goes to trial, nobody will remember that Tyler tried to strangle Mia. They'll only remember that some Hell's Angel took a teenage girl to a shelter and filled her head with lies. So what do? We fight back. I'm filing counter motions tomorrow. But Connor, you need to be prepared. This is going to get ugly. Morrison's going to dig into your past, every arrest, every fight, every questionable thing you've ever done. He's going to paint you as a violent criminal who manipulated a troubled girl. Let him try. Everything I've done I own. I'm not ashamed of my past. You might be before Morrison's done with you. Connor hung up and sat in the darkness of his bedroom, thinking about everything that had led to this moment. 23 years ago, he'd been exactly the man Morrison was going to portray. Violent, criminal, dangerous. It had taken Rachel's death to change him, to show him there was another way to live. But could he prove that change to a courtroom? Could he convince a judge and jury that he'd helped Mia out of genuine concern, not some twisted ulterior motive? His phone buzzed again. A text from an unknown number. "Stay away from Mia. This is your only warning." Connor stared at the message. Tyler's number. The little bastard was threatening him now. He typed back. "Or what?" The response came immediately. "Or I make sure everyone you care about regrets it. Starting with that shelter director. Charlotte, right? Would be a shame if Safe Harbor lost its funding, or had its licenses revoked, or faced investigation for housing runaways." Connor's blood ran cold. Tyler wasn't just threatening him. He was threatening Charlotte, the shelter, everyone who'd helped Mia. "You touch Charlotte, you touch anyone else trying to help Mia, and I'll make sure you never walk again." Empty threats from a washed-up criminal. "My father's already filed paperwork to have your parole violated. One wrong move, Connor, and you're going back to prison." Connor threw his phone across the room, watching it shatter against the wall. Tyler Morrison wasn't just an abuser. He was smart, calculating, and backed by a father who knew every dirty legal trick in the book. But Connor had something Tyler didn't. He had brothers who'd go to war for him. He had women like Amber Hayes who were finally ready to speak their truth. He had Dr. Chen's medical records and Charlotte's testimony and evidence that was mounting every day. And most importantly, he had Mia, a 16-year-old girl who'd found the courage to run, to seek help, to believe she deserved better than Tyler Morrison's violence. Connor picked up his landline and called Bear. "It's 3 a.m, Bear growled. "I need a favor." "Name it." "I need 24-hour protection on Charlotte and Safe Harbor. Tyler just threatened her." Bear was instantly alert. "Consider it done. What else?" "I need you to find Tyler Morrison's college roommate, a guy named..." Connor pulled up Bear's earlier research on his laptop. "Brett Caldwell. He was with Tyler when one of the assault allegations happened. Might have witnessed something." "On it." "Connor, you okay?" "No, but I will be, once Tyler Morrison's in prison where he belongs." "That's the spirit. Get some sleep. Tomorrow we keep fighting." But Connor didn't sleep. He spent the rest of the night reading through every piece of evidence they'd collected, every testimony, every medical record, building the case in his mind, preparing for the war he knew was coming. Because Tyler Morrison had made a critical mistake. He'd assumed Connor was just another obstacle to overcome, another person who could be threatened or intimidated into backing down. But Connor had spent 23 years atoning for his failures, 23 years trying to be the man Rachel believed he could be. And he wasn't about to let some entitled, violent rich kid destroy another woman's life, not while he still had breath in his body. At Pinecrest Psychiatric Facility, Mia sat in a sterile room, answering questions from a psychiatrist who looked at her like she was a lab specimen. "Tell me about your relationship with Tyler Morrison," Dr. Richard Weston said, his pen poised over his notepad. "He hurt me." Mia's voice was quiet but steady. "For 6 months he beat me, controlled me, and made me believe it was my fault. And yet you stayed with him for 6 months. Why would you do that if he was truly abusive?" "Because he convinced me I deserved it. Because I loved him. Because I was scared of what would happen if I left." Dr. Weston made a note. "Did Connor Kane encourage you to make these allegations?" "No. Connor found me after I ran from Tyler. He saved my life." "Or did he convince a vulnerable, emotionally unstable young woman that she was being abused when she wasn't?" Mia felt something inside her snap. The bruises were real. The marks on my neck were real. Tyler's hands around my throat were real. Connor didn't convince me of anything except that I deserved better than being strangled by my boyfriend. "You're getting agitated, Mia. That's concerning. You'd be agitated too if someone was trying to convince you that attempted murder was a hallucination." Dr. Weston made another note. "We'll continue this evaluation tomorrow." As he left, Dr. Chen entered. She sat down across from Mia, her expression gentle. "How are you holding up?" "He thinks I'm crazy." Mia's voice broke. "He thinks Connor brainwashed me." Dr. Weston is being paid by Lawrence Morrison to reach a specific conclusion. But Mia, here's what matters. Your injuries are documented. Your medical records are clear. No amount of psychiatric evaluation can make those bruises disappear or change what Tyler did to you. But what if the judge believes him? What if they decide I'm mentally ill and Tyler was just trying to help me? Dr. Chen leaned forward. Then we appeal. We fight harder. We bring in more evidence, more witnesses, more expert testimony. Mia, this isn't over. This is just Tyler and his father using every resource they have to make the truth disappear. But the truth is stubborn. It has a way of coming out eventually. I'm scared. I know. But you're also brave. Braver than Tyler. Braver than his father. And that's what's going to win this fight. After Dr. Chen left, Mia lay on the narrow bed in her room and thought about Connor's words. You're stronger than Tyler thinks you are. Was she? For 6 months she'd believed everything Tyler told her, that she was worthless, that nobody else would want her, that his violence was somehow her fault. But Connor had shown her something different. He'd shown her that people could care without hurting, that love didn't have to come with bruises and apologies, that she deserved safety and kindness, and a life free from fear. Mia closed her eyes and made a decision. She was going to fight. Not for Connor, not for the lawyers or the doctors or anyone else. She was going to fight for herself, because Tyler Morrison had taken enough from her. Her sense of safety, her confidence, her belief that she mattered. But he didn't get to take her future. Not anymore. Can I call you Dad? The 72 hours felt like 72 years. Connor visited Mia every day, sitting in the sterile visitors' room at Pinecrest, watching her grow stronger despite Dr. Weston's attempts to break her down. Patricia filed motion after motion, building their case piece by piece. Bear and the brothers tracked down more of Tyler's victims, each one adding another nail to his coffin. But the breakthrough came on day 3. Bear called Connor at 6 a.m., his voice tight with excitement. We found him, Brett Caldwell, Tyler's college roommate. And he's willing to talk. Connor, this kid saw everything. 3 years of Tyler's behavior. He's got videos, text messages, photos. He's been carrying this guilt for years, waiting for someone to ask the right questions. Connor felt hope surge through him for the first time in days. Where is he? Atlanta. I'm bringing him up today. He'll testify, but Connor, he's scared. Morrison tried to pay him off 2 years ago, threatened him when he wouldn't take the money. This kid's putting everything on the line. We'll protect him, same as the others. Already on it. 2 brothers are with him now. At 2 p.m. that afternoon, Connor sat in Patricia's office with Brett Caldwell, listening to him tell a story that made Connor's blood boil. Brett was 25 now, a software engineer trying to outrun the guilt of what he'd witnessed in college. He pulled out his phone and showed them a video from 3 years ago. In it, Tyler stood in their dorm room, laughing with friends as he showed them photos of a girl with a black eye. She walked into a door, Tyler said on the video, and his friends laughed. Clumsy bitch. I should have done something, Brett said, his voice hollow. I should have reported him. But Tyler's dad, he made it clear what would happen if I talked. I was on scholarship. My family's poor. I couldn't afford to lose everything. But you're talking now, Patricia said gently. Because I heard about Mia, 16 years old, and I thought about all the times I stayed silent, all the women I could have protected if I'd just been brave enough to speak up. Brett looked at Connor. I can't bring them back, but I can make sure Tyler doesn't hurt anyone else. Your testimony could change everything, Patricia said. But Brett, you need to understand. Lawrence Morrison is going to come after you with everything he has. He'll try to discredit you, destroy your career, ruin your reputation. Let him try. I'm done being scared. That evening, when Connor visited Mia at Pinecrest, he brought news of Brett's testimony. Mia's face lit up, the first real smile he'd seen from her since this whole nightmare began. So we have a chance, she asked. More than a chance, kid. We're building a case that's going to be impossible to ignore. Mia was quiet for a moment. Connor, can I ask you something? Anything. When this is all over, when Tyler's in prison and I can go home. She stopped, struggling with the words. My mom and Greg, they're good people, but they don't really see me, you know. They work all the time, and when they're home, they're too tired to notice anything. I could come home with bruises and they'd believe whatever excuse I gave them. Connor felt his throat tighten. What are you asking, Mia? I'm asking, her voice cracked. I'm asking if maybe, once this is all over, I could, if you'd want. She couldn't finish. Connor reached across the table and took her hand gently. Spit it out, kid. Can I call you Dad? The words rushed out. I know it's stupid. I know you didn't sign up to be anyone's father. I know you just helped me because you're a good person. But Connor, You're the first person in my life who's ever made me feel like I mattered, like I was worth protecting, like I was worth loving. Connor felt something break open in his chest. 23 years ago, Rachel had told him he could be better, that he could be the kind of man worth believing in. And now this broken, brave 16-year-old girl was asking if she could call him Dad. "Mia," he said, his voice rough with emotion. "You don't have to ask permission for that." So I can? "Kid, you can call me Dad every day for the rest of your life if you want to, because that's what I am. That's what I've been since I found you at that gas station. I just didn't know how to say it." Mia started crying, but this time they were tears of relief, of joy, of finally finding the family she'd been searching for her whole life. "Dad," she whispered, testing the word. "Dad, I'm so scared." "I know, sweetheart, but we're going to get through this, together. Promise." "I promise. On my life, I promise." They sat there holding hands across the sterile table until visiting hours ended. As Connor left, he turned back one more time to see Mia standing at the window, watching him go. She wasn't alone anymore, and neither was he. The court date arrived 3 weeks later. The courtroom was packed with media, with Tyler's supporters, with women who'd come forward to tell their stories. Amber Hayes sat in the front row, her hands clenched in her lap. Brett Caldwell sat beside Patricia, his testimony ready to destroy Tyler's perfect image. And Mia sat at the plaintiff's table, wearing a blue dress Charlotte had bought her, her bruises faded but her resolve stronger than ever. Tyler Morrison entered with his father, still playing the role of the concerned boyfriend. But Connor could see the cracks in his facade now, the way his eyes kept darting to Mia, the tension in his shoulders, the fear. Judge Blackwell entered, and the trial began. Patricia was brilliant. She systematically destroyed every lie Lawrence Morrison had built. She presented medical records from 6 different women, all showing similar injuries. She showed the jury Brett's videos, Tyler's text messages, the pattern of abuse that spanned 4 years. And then she called Mia to the stand. Mia walked to the witness box with her head held high. She'd spent 3 weeks preparing for this moment. 3 weeks finding her voice. 3 weeks learning that her truth mattered. "Miss Carter," Patricia said gently, "can you tell the court what happened on the night of December 19th? Mia took a deep breath. "Tyler Morrison tried to kill me." The courtroom erupted. Judge Blackwell called for order. "He put his hands around my neck and squeezed until I couldn't breathe," Mia continued, her voice steady. "I thought I was going to die. I thought—" Her voice broke slightly, but she pushed through. "I thought I was going to die, and nobody would care because Tyler had convinced me I didn't matter. But you survived. I survived because I fought back. And I survived because Connor Kane found me and showed me that I deserved better than Tyler's violence." Lawrence Morrison stood for cross-examination, and Connor felt every muscle in his body tense. "Miss Carter," Morrison's voice was smooth, paternal. "Isn't it true that you have a history of emotional instability?" "No." "Isn't it true that you've been diagnosed with depression and anxiety?" "Having depression doesn't mean I deserve to be beaten." "Isn't it true that Connor Kane, a convicted felon with a history of violence, convinced you to make these allegations?" "No. Connor saved my life. He's the only person who ever cared enough to help me." "So you're emotionally attached to Mr. Kane. Doesn't that suggest your judgment might be compromised?" Mia leaned forward, her voice clear and strong. "My judgment was compromised when I believed Tyler Morrison loved me. My judgment is fine now that I understand what love actually looks like." The trial continued for 2 more days. More witnesses, more evidence, more testimony from women Tyler had hurt. By the end, even Judge Blackwell looked shaken. The jury deliberated for 4 hours. When they returned, Connor held his breath. "On the charge of attempted murder, we find the defendant guilty." Mia's sob of relief echoed through the courtroom. "On the charges of assault and battery, we find the defendant guilty." Tyler Morrison's face went white. "On the charges of witness intimidation, we find the defendant guilty." Lawrence Morrison stood, his face a mask of barely controlled rage. "Your Honor, I—" "Sit down, counselor," Judge Blackwell said, and there was steel in his voice. "Mr. Morrison, you are hereby sentenced to 15 years in state prison for attempted murder, assault, battery, and witness intimidation. Given the pattern of abuse and your father's attempts to obstruct justice, I'm recommending you serve your sentence in maximum security with no possibility of parole before 8 years. Tyler was led away in handcuffs, still protesting his innocence. Lawrence Morrison followed, his empire crumbling around him. And in the courtroom, Mia turned to Connor with tears streaming down her face. "We won," she whispered. "Dad, we won." Connor pulled her into his arms, holding her tight while she cried. Bear was there, and Patricia and Charlotte, and all the brothers who'd made this possible. But mostly there was just a father and daughter who'd found each other in the darkness and fought their way into the light. Connor stood in the kitchen of his house, flipping pancakes the way Mia had taught him. It was Christmas morning, exactly 2 years since that night at the gas station. Mia thundered down the stairs, now 17 and thriving. She'd started therapy, gone back to school, even found a group of friends who understood what she'd been through. The haunted look was gone from her eyes, replaced by something that looked like hope. "Pancakes?" she asked, sliding into her chair at the kitchen table. "Chocolate chip. Your favorite." "You spoil me. That's what dads do." Mia smiled, that brilliant smile that still made Connor's heart swell. "Hey, Dad." "Yeah, sweetheart. Thank you. For everything. For finding me, for fighting for me, for..." Her voice caught. "For teaching me what family actually means." Connor set down the spatula and walked over to her, pressing a kiss to the top of her head. "You taught me what it means too, kid. Before you, I was just going through the motions. You gave me a reason to be better. We saved each other." Yeah, we did." They ate breakfast together, talking about Mia's plans for college, about Connor's work with the brothers, about the foundation they'd started to help other domestic violence survivors. Tyler Morrison was in prison, Lawrence Morrison had been disbarred, and Mia Carter was free. But more than that, she was loved. And Connor Kane, the former Hell's Angel who'd spent 23 years trying to atone for his past, had finally found redemption in the form of a 16-year-old girl who'd asked if she could call him Dad. Some families are born, some are built, and sometimes, on a cold December night at a gas station, two broken people find each other and build something beautiful from the wreckage of their pain. That's what Connor and Mia had done, and they'd spend the rest of their lives grateful for that night, for that chance encounter, for the courage it took to ask a simple question. "Can I call you Dad?" The answer, now and forever, was yes. Before you go, please subscribe and share this story. Stories like Mia's happen every day, but they don't all have happy endings. If you or someone you know is experiencing domestic violence, please reach out for help. You deserve safety. You deserve love. You deserve better. Comment below with the city you're watching from. I love seeing how far these stories travel around the world. Thank you for being here.